yourself a drink and I'll be down in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Say they're from out of town or whatever, we don't give a fuck. The deal is done, now the cake been baked. They need to come on with the drama, whatever they gonna do.
What's cracking, pimps, and welcome to episode 18 of the Mac Daddy Seminar. As always, I'm your host, Taylor Dunn, and yep, it's Wednesday. Wednesday, April 3rd. And if your girlfriend is still pregnant today, congratulations. A lot of people get bent out of shape over that whole, April Fool's, I'm pregnant shit, which is so played out. You know, let that shit go, man. If you're going to announce your pregnancy, just wait 2 days. But if, you're really going to announce your pregnancy, why would you do it on April 1st? Apparently, Justin Bieber is in a lot of hot water right now, which I don't understand why, because I think it's fucking stupid. But he made my wife or whatever, I think it's his wife. Are they married? Yeah, him and his wife, Haley, I guess her name is. They put a pregnancy prank for April Fools on Instagram, and he's having to apologize about it. And it's why are you apologizing for it? It was a joke. You know? And people are like, oh, it's insensitive to people who can't have children. Okay, you know what? Look, I've been seeing a lot of stuff over the past week about, and it's been happening for years, but we're going to suck the fun out of every holiday there is by this, oh, you shouldn't do that, that's insensitive to this. You know, they did it with Christmas, and they did it with Halloween. You can't wear this costume. You can't wear this costume because okay, cool. So we have made Christmas not fun, and now we're making Halloween not fun. Now, what are we going to go after next? April Fool's Day. You know? Which, if you're still doing April Fool's jokes as an adult, what the hell are you doing? I did like the one that the girl from Game of Thrones, which I don't even watch Game of Thrones, but I did like the one that they did on the Jimmy Fallon show. I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, man, it's so stupid. And apparently, he's on a hiatus from music. Why the hell even announce that? You haven't put out a song in 2 years. Now, do they still play it on the fucking radio, that Despacito song that you made 2 years ago? Yes. Am I sick of hearing it? Yes. Do I not understand half the shit that's in the song? Yes. Was it cool when it came out? Yes. But, oh, I'm on a hiatus from music. Okay, cool. Just do that. Just don't make music. Okay? Okay, so we aren't expecting a Justin Bieber album for a while. Okay, nobody was really expecting one anyways. To be honest with you. Look, I used to work, I've talked about this on the podcast before. I used to work at a, a radio station. And that was one of our biggest artists at the time. This was back in 2012, 2013. And I was right out of high school. I started working at a radio station. And one of our biggest artists was Justin Bieber. And he was the talk every day, because this was when he was booming after he got arrested and all this shit. And he released a couple of good songs, and, you know, he was like, oh, I'm having problems with drugs. If you're talking about having problems with drugs, you don't have that big of a problem. If you have money like that. That's my opinion. You know? Like, if you're walking around like, oh, I have a drug problem, you don't really have as big of a drug problem as you think you do, because you've already accepted it if you have one. You know? Sipping lean and smoking cigarettes really ain't a drug problem. Okay? Somebody with a drug problem, you can tell. Like, yep. You can tell. Yep, he's definitely doing it. He is on that heroin. You know? Look at Ozzy Osbourne. I watched that movie, The Dirt, which is actually really good. I don't know if I talked about this yet, but I watched it. It's on Netflix, and it's really good. But they definitely, and I'm going to keep going on this subject. I'm just on a rant today, y'all. The one thing about The Dirt that I didn't like was like the first 20 seconds of the movie. I think I might have talked about this. If not, if I have, whatever. But if you have watched The Dirt, you know what I'm talking about. The first 20 seconds of the movie, the stupidest shit ever happens. And then you're just like, it made me go, I think I'm going to look for something else to watch. Because I'm sitting on the couch with my wife, and this happens, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna watch something else. But just go watch it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But believe me, if you just push through and get through that one scene, it's a good movie. Anyway, back to what I'm saying. Ozzy Osbourne had a fucking drug problem. All right? If somebody would be like, I fancy a bump, and they're like, oh, we're all out of cocaine, and he's like, you didn't hear what I said. I said I fancy a bump. And he takes a straw out of your hand and snorts a line of ants off the ground. Up his nose. This is in the movie. I don't know if this actually happened. I'm sure it did. But, and then he pisses on the ground and slurps it up. Like, and he stands up and he's like, I fancied a drink. You know? What the hell, man? That's a drug problem. Okay? That's like saying, oh, I have a problem with my car, and, you have a piece of paper under a seat. Oh, there's a problem with my car. No, that's not a problem with your car. You can easily fix that. Now, look, before somebody jumps down my throat and talks about how drug addiction is a disease and yada, 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 look. I get it. Okay? But we're just fucking around on here. Okay? We're just talking. We're just chatting. Chewing the fat. You know? Oh, man. I'm tired, y'all. I'm just getting old as hell. I'm only 25, but still. I get off work and I just come home and it's like, oh. I sit down and it's like, oh, God. Now every time I see, like, one of my family members at Christmas or something, and they're asleep at, like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I get it. I get it. You know? Oh, man. Yep. I'm really psyched about this trip I'm about to go on, though. Yep. Me and a good buddy of mine are going to drive cross country to San Diego, California. We're about to live out there. And we're just going to go out there and check it out. So I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that our first video podcast / vlog episode. And that's going to be next week. That's going to be episode 19. Now, don't ask me, hey, you haven't posted a video or you haven't posted podcast this week, man. What's going on? Because I'm not done filming it yet. Look, I do this all in one take. Okay? I press record and I just let it go. You know? But since it's going to be a video podcast, I can't do that all in one take, or it would be 900 hours long. You know, use some common sense, man. Oh, God. My feet feel like they're going to fall off. I did something pretty cool the other day, though. I went and I volunteered at a elementary school real close to where I live. And I've always wanted to do those. I like doing volunteer events. I feel like it's good to give back to the community. And I like doing anything with kids. If it allows me to, you know, go read to some kids or go help mentor some kids, I'm all about that. So I volunteered to go do it. And the school was like 5 miles from where I live, and I never even knew it was back there. It was like tucked off in a corner. And I go, and I get to the school, and its parking lot literally was the size of my living room. So I drove around it like 6 times to find a place to park, which I did eventually. And then I go into the school, and it's been a long time since I've been to an elementary school, dude. Like, my daughter is only 3, so we got a couple of years till she is in school. But, you know, it's been a while. And I walked up, and you had to press a button for them to let you in. Maybe this is, like, normal now with, like the whole school shooting culture. I hate to be so morbid about it, but, I mean, that's the obvious explanation. There's a button that they have to ring you in, and then you come in, and then there was, like, another set of doors that you had to ask permission to go through, and, I mean, it was wild, you know? But it was a really nice school. God, it was so colorful in there. I felt like I was Alice in Wonderland walking around in that school. There's not enough color out there, man. If you need some color in your life, go walk through a elementary school, you know? I was walking through that place, felt like I was in fucking Candyland. But yeah, the principal came out and met me, and she was super nice. And she was like, well, what exactly do you want to do? I was like, I don't care. I mean, I didn't have, like, you know, an act put together. I wasn't going to do stand-up for a bunch of second graders. You know, but I was like, you know, just whatever you'd like me to do. And I walk into this random classroom, and they're like, yeah, this is Taylor, and he's here to you know, help with whatever you need done. And she's like, oh, okay. And I go over there, and, you know, nice to meet you. And then she hands me a stack of papers, and it just says levers and pulleys, and it's got a couple of paragraphs on it.
And she's like, okay, so what we're going to have you do is we're going to have you sit in the back of the classroom, and we're going to have some of the kids that have, a little bit of a harder time reading, sit back there with you, and you can have them read it. And if you just want to go over this with them, that'll be great. And I'm like, I'm in here. You got me in here tutoring the problem kids in class? But I didn't complain, because I don't mind. I like kids. I just thought I was going to get to hang out with all of them. And of course, when I walk in, every kid in the whole room is looking at me and wanting to come over there and hang out with me. I'm not like bragging about a bunch of second graders wanting to hang out with me, but I'm something different, But I go and sit in the back, and I introduce myself to all the kids. I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Taylor. Hey, what's going on, buddy? And high-fiving them. And then we sit in the back of the classroom. We learned about levers and pulleys, man. I sat back there, and I was like, okay, so who wants to read the first paragraph? And I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little bit nervous. And, they were all kind of shy and stuff. And I was like, all right, look, don't be shy. I'll read the first paragraph, and, we'll go through it. And, if anybody wants to get the second paragraph, we can. So I read the first paragraph, and then it was all about levers. And I sat there, and I described to them what a lever was, And like when you flip on a light switch, that's the lever, I said, you ever sat on a seesaw? That's a lever, And then, we kept going, and then we got to talk about pulleys. And I'm like, hey, here's a good example of a pulley. You ever rode on an elevator? That's what a pulley is. And I did it just like that, too, and they loved it. And then, reading this pamphlet only takes like 4 minutes, and now I'm done, and I'm like, oh, what do I do? So I just sat in the back of the room and just talked to the kids. Like, they're like, all the boys asked pretty much the same questions. Like, they were like, how many guns you got in your house? And I'm like, what? How many guns you got in your house? And I'm like, my daddy's got a gun. My daddy's got a big gun. And then, we are in Mississippi. I'm not saying I'm not against, having guns in your house. I have guns in my house. But I just thought it was hilarious because I used to have those same arguments when I was in the second grade. My dad's got a bigger gun than you. No. My dad has an elephant gun. My dad smokes real cigarettes. What? Yeah. He smokes them all the time. Yeah, and all the girls were like, Are you married? I'm like, yeah. Okay. How old is your wife? She's my age. Okay. Do you have kids? Yeah. Okay. There was one little girl, like, she would ask me a question, and I'd tell her the answer, and she'd go, okay. Like she was Surrey. I felt like I was talking to Surrey. Okay. Freaked me out, man. One of them asked me, is your wife white? And I was like, yeah? I don't know, man. It was just weird. It's so weird when you go. It's so interesting to go talk to little people, because they're just kids, and everybody bases their whole existence around that time in their life when they're a kid. all of your memories come from when you were a kid, you know, so it's funny. Man, oh man. I was sitting there, dude, I started thinking about it. I started thinking about, like I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on the podcast before. But, yeah, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness in Montgomery, Alabama. And it was pretty lame, to be honest with you. I'm just being frank. It was pretty lame. Because we didn't celebrate Christmas. We didn't celebrate birthdays. I couldn't go to anybody else's birthday party. We didn't celebrate Halloween. You know? And I just wanted to, you know, go out and do what the other kids were doing, you know? Because that's how other kids were making friends with the other kids. Going to their birthday parties and stuff. Going to sleepovers. But yeah, man. That shit sucked. And I talked to my wife about it, and I'm like, I feel like I don't really, because I haven't been a part of the religion in so long. Like, we kind of left when I was like 13 or so, maybe a little bit before then. But I just, we stopped going. And it was really weird, like, transferring over to, like, doing everything else because I was just so innocent. Like, I wouldn't do anything bad. And then when I was, like, let free, they let me off them witness chains. I was just like, I went buck wild, you know? I was out here doing some scandalous stuff. But, you know, I ended up shaping up. I had my fun. And I think that's important too. This is what I see. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. If you're a parent, this needs to be something that applies to you. I'm not going to tell you how to raise your kids. Like I've always said on the Mac Daddy seminar, this is all just advice. If you decide whether or not to take it is up to you. But if you're really strict on your kids, they're just going to be sneaky. That's the bottom line. I was a sneaky kid. You know? I ran around here doing some wild stuff. And, you know, I just, for the most part, I mean, I got caught doing some stuff a few times, but, you know, very rarely did that happen. When I say kid, I mean I was like a teenager. But, yeah, man, people, if you don't get to have that stupid time in your teens, you're going to have that stupid time once you get to be about 20. And that's when you really start to screw up. You can still have a little bit, because, you know, that's college age, and, you know, people act wild in college. But you can still have a little bit of stupid time. I'd say at about 23, 24, you've kind of used up your last bit of stupid time, depending on how many opportunities you had. You know, if you just were from a family that couldn't afford to send you to college, your stupid time kind of got cut short. Now, I guess that kind of ties into having privilege and whatnot. Because I have friends who grew up very privileged. They had everything you could ever want, but their parents would not let them do anything. They wouldn't even ask because they just thought their parents would say no. So in high school, when I'm out here running the streets, breaking necks and cashing checks, out here down with a thickness on these young little honeys running around that I just was like, I was having the time of my life. And these people who grew up and their parents wouldn't let them go do anything, they didn't go do any of that. So when they got a little bit of freedom, they went wild. But they're doing it when they're like 22, 23 years old. So now they're going to jail. You're like, dang, that's horrible. Why are they acting like that? They didn't get to have that fun when they were younger. So I'm telling you now, you gotta let these kids go out here and have this fun. It's okay. You know, as long as they're not like getting into like hard drugs or stealing or beating people up or anything like that, like it's cool. Let them go to parties. Let them make some mistakes, you know, because you learn from them. I've already told my wife, I'm like, look, I want Lily to have all the opportunities that I didn't have growing up, but I do not want to put a limitation on her. I want her to understand that her actions have consequences. So if she does something stupid, that's the number one way I feel like I can teach her a lesson in life. I'm going to tell y'all something, and I haven't told a lot of people about this. When I was 18 years old, my parents once I graduated high school, they started charging me rent to live in my house, to stay in my room. I'm not going to say a dollar amount, but it was pretty steep. And, I mean, especially, you know, I worked a minimum wage job, and it was so steep, along with, you know, paying for the gas for my car and stuff like that. They made me pay this rent. I'll just go ahead and tell you, it was about $300 a month. Now, if you round that down to the days, it was about $10 a day, right? Not that big of a deal. But when you take out that $300 once a month, that seems like a chunk of change at 18 years old. Because I didn't have any other bills. I didn't understand. And that was one of the number one lessons I learned at a young age. Because I got people out here now who are 25 and don't understand the way bills work. Like, yeah, you work for 2 weeks, and then after your bills hit, you have $17, depending on what you do. You know? And I was just, at the time, it made me upset, and I was like, why are they charging me this? And I used to complain to all my friends and all this stuff. But now I thank them for that, because they taught me such a valuable lesson on the value of a dollar. And I maybe not to that extreme, but I want to do something similar with my daughter so that, you know, I want her to be successful with money. I'm not saying I'm like a millionaire or anything, because I'm not. But I want her, you know, I feel like I'm, what's the right word? Established. I don't have to ask people for help. And, you know, if you do, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with asking people for help. But, you know, you got to look at it like this. If you're like, oh, I don't have money to do this. Oh, I don't have enough money to do this. But you're out here buying cases of beer or drugs and shit like that, but you don't have any money, you might want to look at your priorities a little bit harder, my man. Or you're out here, you're 24, 25 years old, and you're like, I'm just so depressed. I don't know why anything's not going right for me. Okay, well, let's look at the situation. Are you out here getting arrested for doing stupid high schooler crap? Well, yeah. Okay, stop doing that. You know? God, I didn't mean to get so deep on y'all today, man. I just kind of went on a rant. I didn't have anything really to talk about today. And it ended up being good. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed my fucking TED Talk. But yeah, man. I've just been getting ready for this trip. I'm really excited about it. This will be like the first time I've ever actually gotten to visit California. And I've always wanted to live out there, so I'm super stoked that I'm going to go out there in a couple of months and live there. I'm super excited about it. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps this episode up. Be on the lookout for that video podcast. First ever video podcast will be episode 19, coming out probably towards the end of the week, maybe even on the weekend, depending on how long it takes me to edit the video down and all that. And yeah. So, as I always say, I will see you guys next week.